Hi, it's Shane McLeod here from Remax Gold in Gladstone, and welcome to another episode of The Banter. The Banter episodes are really just to give you a little bit of education and information around the real estate industry, different processes, tips, hints, all that sort of thing. So I wanted to talk to you today about a conversation I had last week with one of our local mortgage brokers, which perplexed me to no end. We'd all be familiar at the moment. There's a particular importance played on having pre-approval for buying properties. Once upon a time, it used to be that people would ring up, want to look at a property, and agents would just cart them around willy-nilly without knowing whether they're even in a position to buy a property. This often resulted, I guess, in people putting down contracts subject to their finance without having that conversation with a bank or broker beforehand on whether they could actually afford or were in a position to get finance to buy a home, which then obviously rolls on to contracts crashing and falling over, sellers losing time in the market. So there's been certainly a big shift, which certainly Remax pushed to get some proof of pre-approval in play from buyers before accepting contracts and even looking at properties. Sellers have definitely jumped on board with that now. They really want to know that before they're going to all that effort, quite often it's a number of hours to get their place ready for showings and getting people through their home. Strangers, quite often people they don't even know nothing about, to at least be able to show their agent that they've got that pre-approval in place and are in a position to proceed with an offer with some confidence that their finance is in place, subject to those final application processes by their lending institution. Which brings me to that interesting conversation I had with one of our mortgage brokers the other day, who really took umbrage um, to showing me any form of formal pre-approval or giving me something to say that yes, they were in a position to go ahead with an offer. Their reasoning baffled me quite a bit because the reasoning was that if I knew what they could borrow, say for argument's sake, they're looking at a $600,000 property, but they're actually in a position to borrow up to $900,000. He actually made the comment that if I knew that they could borrow up to $900,000, that I would make them pay more for the property and possibly pay over market value. At that point, I didn't know whether to be insulted or to give myself a little pat on the back that he thought I was that good, that I had some magical power to make people buy property, and B, make them pay a certain amount of money for that property because I knew what they could borrow. Now, I've been in the industry here for 23 years, and I can guarantee you, if I had some of those special magical powers to make people buy a property and then pay what I want them to pay for the property, I would have retired many, many years ago. So at the end of the day, I just didn't understand the reasoning behind that. Uh, it's certainly not something that any agent I've ever met has that ability or magical powers to to make people do exactly what they want them to do when buying and selling a property. It also concerns me, I guess, a little bit that a broker or lender might think that their client is that weak-willed or stupid, for want of a better word, that they would do exactly what the agent told them. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. So the reason we ask for the pre-approval or proof of, obviously, as people have become that little bit more aware that they're going to get asked for pre-approval, a lot of them will just mark on their forms, yes, we've got it, without expecting that the agent might actually ask for some proof there of that pre-approval, which I will freely admit a lot of agents don't do. They just ask the question and move on from there without wanting to see any proof of pre-approval at all, which you might as well not even ask the question if that's the way you're going to do it. Look, quite honestly, from an agent point of view, I don't care what the number is that's on your pre-approval, as long as you're in a position to move ahead with the property that you're looking at in that price range, and that's just through a conversation that we might have doing all of that. So I'm just going to adjust this camera a little bit. So the reasoning we asked for it. Whoops, sorry about that. The camera just went. The reason we ask for it is so that we can go back to our sellers and let them know that we've at least cited it. That information is never shown directly to the seller. It's always held in confidence, by myself at least anyway. They just want to know basically at the end of the day that the people I'm organising to bring through their property are genuine buyers, in a position to buy and ready to buy for them. So please don't be offended if you ask for proof of it. It's not a matter of we're being a sticky beak. The sellers have the right to know who's coming through their home and their intentions, and it quite often weeds out a lot of the time wasters, or the looky-loos, as I call them, that just want to come through and have a bit of a sticky beak. So look, best advice I can give you is get your pre-approvals in place, pre-qualification even. Look, generally I'm even happy with a phone call from the broker, mortgage broker or lender, and having a conversation with them, and if they're happy to tell me that you're in a position to do so, and they'll soon work out if they're telling furfies just to get you across the line or through the door that I won't be dealing with them again if they're not on the level. So look, get the piece of paper or some sort of letter. It's not a big deal really at the end of the day. Don't be afraid that agents can make you do anything, because we can't. I can guarantee you that. And certainly if you've got a broker who isn't prepared to furnish that information or work with an agent, or gives them that sort of attitude that they think we're going to do the wrong thing, I'd recommend that you find yourself a new broker that's a little more proactive. So look, that's this week's bit of the banter. Very interesting. If you've got any questions or would like to discuss it further with that process, by all means give me a bell, 041 333 1945, and I'm happy to have that chat, of course. Thanks again for joining me for an episode of the banter. I hope you found it insightful and it puts your mind at ease when you're going through that process of looking for a new home. Cheers.
Sold for the max. Shane McLeod at Remax Gold.